So which just doesn't make sense. Like, how would having sex with somebody else that wasn't your partner while they watch make you feel more connected? But I think there's this appreciation that sex with your partner and sex with another person is not the same thing at all. And so going back, you just feel this want for your own partner. And I think that that's a huge, I guess, draw to it for me anyway.
Welcome to Honey Do Me, a podcast that goes into the bedroom and beyond, hosted by Emma Norman
and Cass Anderson. Here at Honey Do Me, we don't have all the answers, so we chat with experts, educators, and badass changemakers to get them.
We are here to remind our listeners and ourselves that what we're going through is normal, that we are worthy of love and pleasure,
and that we are all in this together. So tell us, honey, how do you do you?
1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. 'Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it. 'Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it. 'Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it.
Hello, hello, hello.
I love that. I love when you drop a few octaves to say hello to our listeners.
It's one of my talents. As I think I've spoken about before, I used to play the stand-up bass.
Yes.
And so a lot of my tones just got lower.
Because you had to harmonize with your bass.
With my bass as the sole bass player.
So what
The
is
sole 7th grade bass player.
What is that? The voice called when you're the deep one?
Baritone?
You're the baritone.
I don't know if that's it. That's it, right?
Well,
it sounds like
who fucking cares?
Baritone. You can't correct me.
You can't correct me. Fuck you.
Fuck you and your wife.
Fuck you and your wife.
That's Emma and I's new favorite joke.
It's really funny and it works every time.
Just no matter what, if you're
You know what?
slightly upset by somebody, if they did something slightly off-putting,
Fuck you and your wife. But I think I'm having a good day. So how's your day going?
Good. It's been pretty good, just the normal ins and outs of your average day.
Of your average Joe?
But I do have a story. It didn't happen today,
Okay.
but it's a masturbation story.
Ooh.
And immediately after, it's kind of an embarrassing one, actually.
We've never told embarrassing stories on this podcast.
So I'm nervous.
So you should be scared.
I'm super nervous. I haven't revealed a lot about myself on this podcast,
Yeah.
so this is going to be
Get
a first
ready.
for me. But actually, this isn't something that I have talked about before, but it goes back to the butt stuff episode because I claimed some stuff in that episode and I stand by it because at that point that was true for me, but things have changed.
Okay.
So
Listening.
I decided to masturbate one day. I was just home alone.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what do I want to do? Obviously, bring some pleasure up into this
Sure. This
den,
cave.
this cave.
Honey cave.
This honey cave. We've graduated from the honey hole
Yeah.
to a bigger room.
A bigger room.
Yeah, so I was like, what would make this spicier? A butt plug, right?
mhm.
Obviously.
Obviously.
The obvious choice. So I just go for it. There's like no prep involved, anything like that. I'm like, I'm just masturbating. It was great, so much fun. But then when I pulled out the butt plug, there was poop on it. And it freaked me out because that was the first time that has happened to me with anything butt stuff.
Okay.
And I feel like I was very insistent, like, oh no, like that didn't happen to me at all in the butt stuff episode. So I just wanted to fess up and say that this
Aw.
week it did.
It did.
I wasn't like shocked. It was, I was slightly shocked. I wasn't concerned at all. And I wasn't like,
That's not a medical thing.
no,
but-
I was like, that's supposed to be in there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I think you'll make a lot of people more comfortable because
Well.
I really felt like you were an anomaly for
I
not
know.
having
Having
anything.
such a loose asshole and no.
and no poop on the first try of butt
I know.
stuff because that was just shocking to me.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Did it scare you out of wanting to do more butt stuff with
With
your
people.
partner? I was gonna say people, but like you have a fiance.
No.
No, you're still
It didn't.
good. Feeling good.
I think I didn't use my bidet. I didn't like think about like, oh, have I pooped this morning
Yeah.
or anything like that. I just kind of went for it. Because it was a morning masturbation sesh.
What's your poop sketch?
It's random.
I am
not-
too. I lived
Yeah.
with people who were like, "Hey, what's your poop schedule?" So we can like
Sync up.
or stay away.
Yeah.
But mine's always random.
Yeah, it's whenever my body feels like pooping.
Yeah.
I'm not going to regulate
sure.
that. It's just too far for me.
I hear you. I hear you and I see you. And
Yeah.
thank you for sharing your thoughts and emotions.
You're so. There are certain parts of my life I'm in a regiment. That's not one of them.
Not one of them. But you know what wasn't shitty this week?
This episode.
This episode. Talk about transitions.
Talk about beautiful transitions.
What are we doing
I
this
think
week?
it makes them so much less beautiful every time we point out how good of a transition it was.
That's okay.
Which is just us.
I just want people to know that these are intentional moments between you and I when we are transitioning from anecdote to introduction.
Yes.
So now from here on out, we won't acknowledge, but please take note.
Please message us about how beautiful they are so that we don't have to tell you how beautiful they are.
Exactly.
You can just tell us from here on out.
So
Anyways,
continue.
today we're talking about swinging.
Yeah,
The swinging lifestyle. And we have the amazing, the beautiful, the sweetest Bella and Jace on the podcast. They are the hosts of Foreplay podcast, where they talk about their swinging lifestyle, their experience with swinging. They go into graphic detail, which I love.
We're big fans of graphic detail.
If you didn't know that.
If you didn't know.
If you didn't know after I just told you I found poop on my butt plug. Yeah.
Oh, I was so interested to ask all of my questions and understand truly how this works as someone who does identify as a jealous individual and wouldn't necessarily consider it for myself. I was so excited to talk to Bella and Jace.
I was too. I don't necessarily consider myself a super jealous person, and I've definitely thought about like ethical non-monogamy. So it was really fun to hear somebody's experience of that. Such like a loving, genuine experience of that. Bella and Jace are the sweetest, cutest couple. Like, oh my God.
We are just friends with them now. It's what I'm defining us as because I'm obsessed with them. So I'm so excited for you guys to meet them.
Yeah. So we will see you
See you on the other side.
Other side.
Bye.
We're Bella and Jace.
I'm Jace. Bella.
Yeah. I'm Bella. That's Jace. And we have been high school sweethearts. We started dating when we were 15 and we got married when we were 23, and we are currently 29 now. When we were about 21 years old, we stumbled into consensual non-monogamy, and almost 7 years later, we are still strong into swinging and the swinging lifestyle.
Yeah.
And we just want to kind of break the stigma
Yeah.
behind swinging and consensual non-monogamy and just educate more on what the lifestyle is actually about.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, that's great work because I feel like I know nothing about how that would work beyond the fact that I'm a jealous person. So I'd say no. But I want to learn more. I want to know more about that. So I feel like we should start off by defining what non-monogamy and the swinging lifestyle is.
Yes.
Yeah, so I guess really what it is at the core is it's a consensual thing that you would choose with your partner, and there's so many different levels of it, but it's basically being in a committed relationship and having sex with other people. And some people will do it where you're maybe in an open relationship and you do it by yourself. For us personally, we always are together when we do it because that's what we enjoy about it. But in general, it's just the thought of being committed to somebody but having sex with other people.
Okay. I'm going to get really specific. And if at any point we ask a question that you aren't comfortable with, please let us know. So in like a specific situation, then would you like find another couple that you were swinging with? Would it be like one other person and then you guys are all having sex together, or how does that work?
So our personal journey, we prefer group sex. We like group sex, but we are always in the same room. So there is a wide variety of what other couples like to do. Some couples, there's something called hot wifing, where only the wife of the relationship would go and have sexual relations with, they would be called a bull.
Yeah.
A single guy would be called a bull. And so she would be doing stuff with him. And then depending on what they want to do, maybe she'll be, it's all talked about with those people, but usually she would record or have some kind of substance to come back with, and then she will say that to her husband, and then that's how they kind of do it. How we do it is we will, after we find couples who also want to do this and everything is consensual, of course, we swap partners in the same room.
Okay.
And we get sexual gratification from that, which is crazy.
Yes.
the idea still to this day is crazy.
Yeah.
So then do you guys ever have sex with each other in those situations, or is it just sex with the other partners?
Yeah, it's usually always sex together. We always like to start off together because we're all about the connection of being together and sharing that moment together. So for us, like 95% of the time, we'll start together and then swap with other people. And at that point, it kind of just varies. Sometimes you'll go back to your partner or stay with the other person, or it's kind of all over the place. But we do like to start together because it definitely like makes us feel more connected during the experience.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
James.
Get out of my head.
We do this like 17 times a day. We'll say the exact same
In
thing.
like our like personal lives, like
Yeah.
not even just on the podcast. Like we'll just
Just-
start saying
Yes.
the same thing.
You guys are telepathic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you really are.
Yeah.
So I had a question about, I'm sorry, did I cut you
No,
off?
you go ahead.
About how you find the other couples. Like,
was my
how do you get out of my head? How do you find other couples that you want to do this with?
There's a variety of different ways. There's a lot of different apps, like things like Tinder and stuff, but for finding other people like that. There's also clubs that are specifically geared towards like being in the lifestyle and having swingers there. So it's kind of a lot of different ways. And there's also, besides just apps, there's like websites, almost like a
Kind of like
Facebook
Facebook.
that I would
Okay.
describe, but you make a profile and, you can lock your pictures, you can have stuff public, however you want to handle it. You can message people on there and get to know people that way. And, at that point you could say, hey, let's meet up at a club or meet for drinks. Or you could just go to a club, find people there. They have resorts, they have cruises.
Oh wow.
It's a really big community, but I feel like it's just underground and just people don't
Yeah.
really know much about it.
And I think it's at the core of it, it's still the relationship you have with your own partner. So in the lifestyle, which is what the swinging community calls the whole thing, is just the lifestyle. But within the lifestyle, it's not like, at least a majority of the time, it's not one partner or both partners feel like they need to have sex with other people. And that's why they're doing it, because they just want sex with other people. But it's more, there's something about sharing your partner that you love so much that whenever that's happening and then you come back to each other, your relationship is even stronger, which is still crazy.
Yeah,
but-
that's just it.
yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me, like when I say it out loud, but the feeling that we get anyway afterwards is this connection. And so it just doesn't make sense. Like, how would having sex with somebody else that wasn't your partner while they watch make you feel more connected? But I think there's this appreciation that sex with your partner and sex with another person is not the same thing at all. And so going back, you just feel this want for your own partner. And I think that that's a huge, draw to it for me anyway.
It's like coming home. You know,
I was gonna
like
say
it
that was-
sounds like you're
Yeah.
going on like
Yeah.
an awesome vacation
Mm-hmm.
with
Mhm.
somebody else, and then you get to come home to your partner, and it's like you can enjoy the vacation, but like it's always going to be home.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
that was weirdly beautiful what you said in terms of having sex with other people.
I want to know. So Emma was mentioning like feelings of jealousy.
Uh-huh.
So was that ever an issue for you guys? And if so, how did you start to work through that?
Our story, so we have been together since we were 15, and we had every sexual experience together. We didn't even have sex until we were 18,
Mhm.
and we've never broken up, and we were just we were each other's first kiss. He never even held hands with somebody else.
Yeah.
So
all of
cute.
we have been together for so long, and we had so much trust and honesty and communication with each other. By the time that we were open to non-monogamy, there wasn't any jealousy there
Yeah.
for us.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Other couples are different, but go ahead.
No, and I don't really know exactly why that is, but whenever we had our first experience, like 8 years ago, however long it was, we said going into it, because we were both curious, like, cause she'd asked me one day, have you ever thought about what it'd be like to have sex with somebody else? Just because you do wonder, like, if you miss that whole, like, let's say experimental phase going through high school to college, like,
Yes.
did we miss out on something? And I didn't feel like I missed out on something, but I was like, yeah, of course I'm curious. And through talks and conversations, it got more, we're like, well, maybe we could have a threesome, or we could kiss somebody, or we could move. And we got farther and farther and farther into it. And at one point we're like, if somehow something fell in our lap that would allow us to have sex with another couple, then we would be on board to do that. But when we went into that moment, we said that no matter what happens, if this is weird or whatever it is, then we're going to forget this ever happened and move forward. Mm-hmm. And in that moment of seeing her with someone else, there just never was a jealousy. It just made me happy to see her getting gratification and her being happy, and then me feeling that same exact way. So I just feel like there never was. And now that we do this, I feel like, what could we be jealous about? For the fact, if you can see your partner do, like, people get nervous about checking their person's phones. Like, her Face ID is on my phone, like all that stuff, because what else could I be jealous of? Because we share everything. So
yeah,
if that answers that at all.
Completely.
Absolutely.
And I feel like, as wild as that is for me to wrap my head around, the way you describe your swinging lifestyle and the way that you gain pleasure from watching your partner be with someone else, that does explain how jealousy can kind of be mitigated, because then it's like you are getting so much pleasure out of watching them be happy. And then also it sounds like you guys are beautifully set up for like a wonderful carefree life. If like jealousy and like worrying about that fear of them being like sexually satisfied isn't really on the table, at least not right now. So it kind of sounds so ideal if you're a person that thinks that way about consensual non-monogamy. So I think that's a beautiful mind space. I don't know. So fun. And
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. And I had one more question. Does it ever include, maybe not for you guys, but share like emotional? It sounds really physical, but does it ever get emotional for other swingers?
So that would be more polyamory, and polyamory and swinging are two different things. Although sometimes I would say there are more polyamorous people who are swingers than swingers who are polyamorous. Most of our friends in the swinging lifestyle is you go back to your own partner, and then the partners that you have outside of your relationship are just fun. And there's no emotional connection. But we know some people who have fallen into them breaking up because of that too. So
but polyamory works really well for some people too. It's just a different, I guess, version of this in a way. I feel like it's almost a spectrum of a lot of different
monogamy, non-monogamy.
Yeah. Because we believe in like sexual non-monogamy but emotional monogamy.
Okay.
And that's like where our mindset is. And if you go that polyamory, it's more of both. You can just have that emotion in it.
Yeah. Okay. It really sounds like a way you're wired. The more I hear you guys talk about it or have heard other people talk about it, it just sounds like a mental wiring that just might be different and then works completely for people. And I think that's awesome. That's really fun.
So with that, how do you know if non-monogamy is for you or maybe isn't for you? Like, how can you start to navigate that? Are there particular like characteristics you need to have in your relationship in order to explore non-monogamy?
Because bringing it up, I feel like could be a huge like
a trigger
bomb to your relationship if both of you aren't people who are going to be in it.
No, for sure. I would say, I think that if there's like one piece of advice for trying to figure out if that is something that would work in a relationship, is there's quizzes online that have where you go and you fill out, like you fill one out, your partner fills one out, and you mark, I'm interested in, like, let's say it's group sex, or I'm interested in public, or whatever it is. And then that website puts your two tests together and shows you what overlaps. And so it's not, different websites work differently, but some of them will do so. Like, let's say I chose group sex and she didn't. It's not going to throw in there that I wanted group sex and she didn't. So it's not going to like run your partner over. Like, what are they thinking? But it kind of will let you see like, oh, like shit, look, they both did want this aspect. And then it kind of lets those conversations start to flow and grow. And so I think that is probably the most safe way. Because that is a really hard thing to bring up. Just like, hey, I'm interested in having sex with other people. So I think that's like maybe one of the easier ways to try to go about it, and the most safe way for yourself and your partner.
And I think communication is always the number one thing. So as long as you have an open conversation about it, I just think that you can't, so say one partner wants to try and then the other partner is like, I'm just not into that at all. The partner who wanted it can't be offended or take anything negative from that.
Right.
I think that's the best way to go about it.
Yeah, because I think that putting your relationship as the center, and no matter what, everything revolves around that. This is just an extra thing on top of our relationship. And so at any point, like if we didn't want to or one of us didn't want to, it's not needed. It's just something we enjoy. Like, I mean, it's like going to watch a movie or going to, I hate to compare sex to that, but it is kind of just like this enjoyable extra pastime that we like included into our relationship.
Yeah.
I love that description. Like, you have your relationship and then this is just an extra thing. Like, it's not a crutch holding up your relationship. Like, I
Yes.
think that one of the stigmas or myths that I've definitely heard is that, like, you open up your relationship or you go into non-monogamy when your relationship isn't enough. So I love that you're talking about it from a place of like, no, your relationship is so good and it is so enough that you can try these other things. I think that's so beautiful and a completely different perspective than I think a lot of people are getting.
Would your relationship be as successful as it is without swinging?
I don't think that it would. The only thing is, because there's so much extra trust needed, I feel like it just makes it stronger in that aspect. But we both don't feel like, if one person right now was like, I just don't ever want to have sex with anybody else, like I just want to be monogamous from now on, we would both be okay with that. So I don't think that it wouldn't de-strengthen our relationship, but because we have that part in there, it just makes it stronger.
That makes
Yeah, that's
sense.
what I was going to say.
And then as a person, if you're interested in it, is there anything like that would immediately tell you you're really not going to be fit for swinging lifestyle or the non-monogamous lifestyle? Like, I know I'm a jealous person, or can be. I have that to work through, I understand. But it's, say if I was interested in swinging, would that characteristic in me be telling that this just wouldn't be successful for me?
That's a good question. I do feel like if you're coming from a relationship, kind of we were talking about the opposite earlier, I think and everyone has their thing, so I don't ever want to, say this is what everyone should do, because I've met couples that it works for them, but I don't think that if you're trying to save a relationship, getting into it is a good idea. I think that having a stable relationship and then adding it in needs to be done, because I think most of the time it's like a crash and burn type situation. It's like a last resort, and that's just not what it's about, because you're more looking for satisfaction in other people and not in your actual relationship. So I think that would be one thing, that if that's kind of how you feel. But I don't necessarily think like jealousy. I mean, I do think that's a large chunk of, if you can't get over that, it would be difficult. But I think that with time and with trust and growing, and if you were to take steps that were maybe baby steps, like we just jumped full head first and had sex with another couple. But, there's all different levels. There's people that go to clubs and all they do is watch. There's people that go and all they want to do is be watched, or maybe you do oral sex with other people, so there's lots of different levels. So I don't think that like jealousy necessarily is you couldn't get around it. I think it's just something that you would be able to grow with. And like we said, I think that's one of those things that could like strengthen yourself as a person in a way.
I think eventually you would need to be over the jealousy. I think that if you think that you would just never be able to see your partner with somebody else, and that's just not going to make you comfortable, you're just never going to be okay with that, then I think that it might not be the best for somebody. But also another red flag is if you can't 100% communicate with your partner,
that's a good one.
then this is not for you.
Yeah.
There's so much that comes up that we don't even think about, that just happens. And then you have to be able to talk to your partner about those things.
Yeah.
And that's everything in your relationship, not even just with swinging, like it's just with everything. You have to have that open communication.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have any like communication tips? I feel like you guys have such like a trusting, like you guys are clearly such good communicators. Like, what would you share with our listeners is kind of like the key to that?
I'm a big fan of like active listening. So all about trying to hear what your partner says. And then when you have things that you don't understand, saying them back in the way that you understand it, to make sure that your partner, that's what they mean. Because we've had times where she said something, I say, oh, so this is what you mean because you're getting into an argument or whatever it is. And she's like, no, that's not what I meant at all. And so I think that's one huge thing that you could use as like a tool is if you're having these miscommunications, make sure that you're able to say back to the person what they mean. Because if you're arguing and you guys aren't even on the same page, you're just arguing about nothing. And so as long as you can get on that same level and you understand like this is exactly what they mean, then you're able to work through an issue. Whereas if you're just taking stabs at what you think they mean, you're not going to be able to ever like get to the core root of what's bothering you and move forward.
We also created a game. It's a conversations game where it just has 4 different categories. There's like perception, and there's a sexual category, and then there's just lots of different questions that really dive deep. And so it makes you really think. And that's it. They're pretty much prompts to help strengthen your relationship and to help open up that communication. And so if you can find, there's other prompts that you can find online too, but if you didn't want to get the game, but something like that might help.
And is the game on your website?
Yes, it's on our website and it's all digital. And so you just click on it, you would sign up, and then you can go to the next, it's like a slideshow.
Awesome.
Fun.
That
You could
sounds
like
so fun.
airplay it during like a nice night or something, and then just have that be your game.
We've taken it to, and we played it so many times, but and answer the question so many times, but as your life changes, sometimes your answers change. And so that's been really interesting, but we like to play it at dinner.
I love that.
Wherever we're going out on a date, we'll play it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so fun. I love like those, not necessarily deep, but just like meaningful conversations that are attached to games. Because that can make like a whole dinner evening so much more special. So I think that's really fun, and you could take it with you without carrying like a deck of cards. So making it digital is so perfect.
Like an old person, like a deck of cards.
Gonna play solitaire. So do these communication practices also have to work with the partner or the couple that you're going to be swinging with? Like, do you guys have to have conversations before, after, during? Like, how does that relationship work?
Yeah, that's huge. We're so big into, I guess, like, I would even say like over consent, like more than just saying like, yeah, we'll move. And so before we start, like, let's say we find a couple and we start to talk and we think things are going to move that direction.
And it's not just sex. It's not like you find a couple, you're like, I'm attracted to them, I'm going to fuck them.
Yeah.
It's a lot of friendship too.
Yeah.
Most couples in the lifestyle really have to get to know the other couple and create a friendship with them first before, because I mean, you're trusting them with
your partner.
So you have to be able to trust them. It's not that we have to go and have these super deep conversations that like we had to match with everything. But anyways, keep going now.
Yeah. So whenever, like, let's say it does move that, I said, it's not all about one night stand and stuff like that. Like, you have friends that you're friends with for years, and then one day it leads that way, and other people you're just friends with forever. And it's just all over the place. But when it comes to like that moving forward situation, we always ask people, like, what are you comfortable with? And everyone has their sets of rules, where I said, maybe it's soft swap, which is just oral with other people, or it's a full swap, or like we have to like use protection. Some people wouldn't like that. So you have to find those rules that you guys are both comfortable with and go kind of that direction. And even whenever we say, like, let's say everyone says, okay, we're all good to have sex, later, whenever things actually start to move that direction, we're still, hey, you guys are still good. You're still comfortable. I'm still comfortable. And even during, we're very big into hand gestures. Like, we'll look over at each other if we're like, and she's like, are you okay? Like, and mouth words like that. So it's constant communication. And we do the same thing with the other people. Like, hey, you're good, right?
That like almost made me choke up. That's so sweet.
That's so sweet. The hand gestures. That got me.
Yeah. Like, I want that just in my life. I wish you would hand gesture me. Are you okay? Throughout the day.
Yeah.
Also, not when we have sex.
Not when we're having sex in the same room.
Yeah.
You guys will probably do that from now on. Like, you're like at the club, you're like,
yeah,
we're doing well.
yes.
Can I ask some specifics about group sex?
Yeah.
So how does that work? So if it's you and another couple, are like the two couples like separate, like you're on either side of the room, or you guys like all on the same bed? Like, how does that work?
So I would say a typical play-by-play, I guess. Not all the time, but like pretty much it's
I feel like
this.
it follows a general like path, but it is all over the place.
Yeah.
So
if it's just with one other couple, usually we'll be talking, we'll be having drinks or whatever, and then it starts to kind of move sexier. Usually we'll start together, and then, you know.
I feel like even like girls normally start together. I feel like it's more.
I feel like you're kind of like making out with your own partner and stuff like that. At least you're sitting next to your own partner. Usually you're just like, at least, you know, next to your own partner, they're kind of next to their own partners. A lot of, not all, but a lot of the women in the lifestyle are bisexual. And so then usually the girls will kind of start kissing and touching. And then usually there's girl on girl play, and then go back to your own partner, oral, other couples doing oral, and then someone will say, do you want to swap? And then you'll swap orally, and usually it depends on where it is. It could be on a couch, or it could be like on a bed, or
L-shaped futon.
Yes. And then after like the soft swap, if we're doing full swap, which is intercourse, and then, you know, get condoms, ask like, is it okay?
Still good.
And then you would fuck separately. But a lot of the times it's a lot of intertwining where it's like the bodies are really close together. Like our favorite is whenever we're close enough to where like we can hold each other's arms or hands or like look at each other while we're like having sex with the other
and
people.
that like that feels so like in our last experience that we had with a couple, like I was having sex with the other girl, but I like her hand was on the ground and like I was like holding her hand, and like we kissed, and it was like making this eye contact like during all of that. And I feel like that's kind of where that, I don't know, connection comes from. But there's so many, it's almost like sex positions. Like there's a billion different ways to have sex. And then whenever you get into groups of people, there's just other ways to, like, we're huge into watching foursome porn, and you're like, oh, we should have sex that way.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of websites that have like really beautifully filmed like foursomes, and you get ideas, and you're like, I never thought about, you know, like maybe the girls are facing each other getting fucked from the back so they can kiss, or however. There's just a bunch of different, I don't know, setups. I don't know how you, what you,
I think that's exactly it.
Scenes, yeah.
I was going to ask about because when I think of four, I just put my fingers together like this, and I'm like, are they all just standing facing each other? And I'm like, I don't know what would happen.
Right.
But that's in my head, my limited experience head. How, so thank you for that like specific description. I love it.
It was also really beautiful.
It was super beautiful.
This is like the most romantic story I think I've ever heard.
You guys are so sweet.
It's just really touching me right now. And not in dirty ways.
I didn't take it as a dirty way.
I know, but anyway. And so do you ever have like themes with the other partners that you're switching with? Like say you want to get a little bit kinkier. Is that something you bring up beforehand and you kind of agree? Not like ABBA themed
party.
Like you have costume parties.
So was I. I was like, we do that. Like,
oh my God. Yeah. See, so if you could answer both of those questions, I would love to know.
So swingers are very big into themes and costumes.
Fun. Okay.
Yeah. And so if you'll go to like a lifestyle club, there's always some kind of theme going on.
Yeah.
Like recently there was
like an island theme or a Mardi Gras theme or a purple theme, or it's just there's
Casino.
always
Purple
there's
feels lazy.
always and there'll be ones where like you wear like full on suits. We went to a Gatsby one time, like you dress up like it's so fun because you get to go to costume parties, which is just awesome. And then you just happen to have sex with other people sometimes. It's just
and people
sounds like a good party.
And it's like almost like raves, or when you go to one of those like EDC or anything like that. I mean, it's not exactly like people aren't wearing like all rave outfits and stuff, but there are people who do that too. But anyway, so there are themes. That's if you're going to an event or if you're going to a club. You don't usually create a theme with like one other couple.
We've like done things like for like our birthday party, we'd do like an island theme or stuff.
Yeah, but that's like an event or like a party.
Still a theme.
Yeah. And then when it comes to, so if that is something that's usually discussed beforehand. If someone is more into BDSM or if they want to try that, they would ask the other couple if they're interested in that. And it's not something that's just brought out during play. It's usually brought before.
And I would say, I think that's, and it's obviously not, it's always going to be, you know, person to person and stuff. But I feel like when it comes to more of those, because I would consider sex with other people a kink, like a big kink, right? But I think that there's other kinks in the kink. And I feel like a lot of the times, if we want to do something that's say like a little bit more advanced in a way, I feel like sometimes you'll like have a sexual relationship with that couple already. And then once you're more comfortable, maybe say like, hey, we're interested in this. Like, have you guys ever thought about that? And so I think a lot of the times you'll kind of have that, kind of like you've already had sex with them. And now you're like, well, we could add something else, almost like a normal relationship, I guess.
Right.
So I think but there is like lifestyle clubs that are BDSM clubs too. Or you might have a theme night where it's like you have a BDSM theme lifestyle party. So there is things like that where you could probably find people that are looking that specific niche. But lots of time when it comes to that specific stuff, I feel like it's, you know, a conversation after a first conversation, or maybe you're really comfortable the first night and it just comes out before and you say, hey, I've always been interested in this. And they're like, oh, us too. And it just happens to, you know, flow that direction.
That's makes sense if you're getting more comfortable with your couples just in general, that it would be more of a conversation and that's something that comes up naturally. So you're like staying friends with a lot of the couples that you're with then.
Yeah. Almost. And it's not like we necessarily like have sex regularly with them, but we do, because if you go to a club or you go to wherever, you see this a lot of the people over and over, and the new people kind of come in and out, and you have a lot of mutual friends that will also be mutual friends. So I mean, we do see like people that we've had experiences with like decently regularly. I mean, most of our friends I actually would say are from this. And so we'll have nights when you just go get dinner and it's nothing sexual. It's just a friendship. And then, you know, sometimes you go have dinner and then it is sexual, and it's just kind of a, I don't know. It's just an interesting dynamic.
It's cool. Cause I mean, imagine just so people not in the lifestyle are called vanilla. And so, just imagine like you're hanging out with your normal friends, but then like, sometimes you fuck them. And then it's just fine. Like, it's just cool. Then you just go back and it's like, that was fun. Yeah. Nice playing golf with you. But it was
It's your guys' version of golf. It's just spicier. I love it.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's funny that it's so, well, we've never experienced this because we've never been outside of our relationship. But I know that with my friends have told me, if you see someone you've had sex with and it was a bad experience, it's kind of, or even if it wasn't a bad experience, sometimes it's kind of awkward. But we'll see people that we've had sex with before, like couples that we've had sex with before, and it's just normal.
Oh yeah, it's so
and it's
normal.
not even that we even talk about it. It's just kind of like, oh yeah.
Yeah, it's not like the first thing you're saying is like, I've seen your penis and happy Wednesday. So it's like, that's not really how conversations go. I guess, I would assume.
Are there a lot of people in their 20s in the community? Because I think how I've always pictured it is older. I don't know why, but
well, because you've seen like key parties in movies, or at least I have.
Yes,
and so those are always older crowds doing it.
That's the stigma. I would say.
And this is awesome. Did you know that there's a key party scene in The Grinch?
Yes,
the Christmas one.
There is. Yes. That's exactly what I was picturing.
Later, we were like serious. I was like, holy shit!
I know these
the
little
whole
sluts.
Whoville was sluts. Yeah, all of them.
Wait, what do you keep saying? What party?
A key party.
I don't know.
Okay, so key party is when, or I think it was like more in like the 50s. I don't know.
We've never been to a key party ever. Yeah,
70s. Where you, every couple that comes in the door, they throw their car keys in a bowl, and then at the end of the night, you pick out someone else's car keys, and like that's who you're going home with. And like there was a scene like that in The Grinch.
What?
Yeah, they were like at a key party.
Whoville was getting it on.
I know. So I feel like that is not like that is the stigma that people have. And it is like the furthest thing from the truth.
But it is more of an older crowd.
But I think it's getting younger. When we started, we were 22. There was nobody our age. We used to lie and say we were 25. So I turned 25 like 5 years in a row or something. So we like seemed more legitimate because people think you're so young that you couldn't have trust in a relationship, which I understand. Right. We've met couples that were younger and did struggle, but we've been together for so long that we were like, well, we have to act older than we are. But I would say generally now there is more and more younger people coming into it. I'd say the biggest demographic is probably late 30s to early 50s. I feel like that's where a good 70-80% fall into that category, and the rest are a little bit older or a little bit younger.
I think also people who are in their 20s are going through a really big life change during that time. So there's not as much time or there's not as much chances to go and experiment this way, because that's when most people are having kids or
even
like
finding their partner. So the fact that you guys found each other so early and already had that like trust established throughout all of those like really big growing
Formative
years, the formative years, it makes sense that you would have discovered it early.
Yeah.
I feel like I had one more question with that, but that's so funny about the Grinch thing too. That was the only thing I was picturing when I said key party to you, and I
that was the first thing that goes to my mind, like Grinch.
I know. And so I just finished the show Sex Life. I don't know if you guys have seen it on Netflix.
I'm only on episode 2, so
you go.
don't spoil.
Oh shit. Okay. Actually, this doesn't spoil anything. I'll just there's just one scene, and it's kind of, I would assume it's a swingers party, but it's just very aggressive, and it's very like there's probably like 50 couples there, and everyone is like naked and having sex with each other, and I just didn't know how realistic those type of parties are or were, and if that's like something you've been to and that's common.
It's all over the place. There is parties where there's tons of people. Like there's a club in Florida that we've been to, for example, and they have like playrooms, right? Because most of the clubs have playrooms on premise.
If it's an on-premise club.
Yeah.
So there's different kinds of lifestyle clubs where you can play there, and some where it's just like a normal club, and then you have to find elsewhere to have your relations.
Okay.
Yeah, but with that one, for example, whenever you go into the playrooms, you either have to be naked or you have to wear a towel. And that's like your only two options. And the club has lockers and they'll give you a towel, or you just walk in there. And in that situation, I mean, I've seen like 100 people all just like, not necessarily all together, but you know, a group of 5 or a group of 4, a group of 10, like hundreds of people like having sex on the same room. But I would say most of the time, I think that's also one of those things that's kind of blown out of proportion. Like you go to a club, there'll be like 50 to 80 couples there if it's like a busy day. But lots of the time you'll have 2 couples together in a room together that's in the back, or maybe, you know, an orgy of 6 people together. So generally it's not that huge amount of people, and you're normally not swapping with, you know, 10 people a night.
Right.
Most of the time it's like a smaller intimate group.
There are parties though where it is a bigger orgy, because we've been to like a 14-person orgy, and pretty much everyone was everywhere.
Was touching stuff.
Yeah.
But even then, it's not like 14 people all like this. Like it's
like Freak Train of 14 people.
Yeah.
It's not like the human centipede.
No.
I was just gonna say that. I didn't want to go there because I was like, don't say that, Cass.
So gross of us, but that's so hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Well, one thing, email me and tell me what you think of the end of Sex Life when you get there.
Okay.
I have ideas and I need to talk about it with someone. So let me know how you like it.
Cass, you're not watching Sex Life?
I'm on episode 2, so I haven't gotten to where. So we're in the same spot, but I did go into episode 3, minute 19,
because it's all over TikTok.
It's
I haven't. Okay.
it's his penis.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Just a big penis.
Huge.
Just a big
Like,
penis.
Emma told me it was going to be huge, and I was like, okay, whatever.
My arm.
Yeah. Like,
so
and
get
it's
ready.
It's soft.
Soft.
It's soft.
So
Emma's
this.
forearm,
When
soft.
it's soft,
Yeah.
when it's soft and really big, it doesn't grow as much though.
But still, a forearm. Yeah, right. I don't care if it doesn't grow at all. Dude. Yeah, it's terrifying.
The other man in the room did seem terrified.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. So how do you find clubs? Is that just an easy Google search, or is that more of being a part of the community and the lifestyle and then like word of mouth?
So it depends on, it's almost regional where it depends. So we're in Texas, and in Texas, the lifestyle community is probably one of the biggest communities
in the world, honestly.
Oh my
Dallas
gosh.
especially, I think, is one of the biggest places. It's like a hub for
Go Dallas.
stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, freaky here.
Yeah.
But,
Nothing else to do, maybe. Out there.
but we were just in LA recently, and it was actually really hard to find
Anything.
any lifestyle stuff to do there.
Yeah.
Whereas in Dallas, so there's the websites that we were talking about, which we can let you know so you can link them. You can go on the website and you can see what events are kind of going on and where the clubs are in relation to where you're located. And so if you're traveling, you can put in, your different zip code and stuff. So I would say that's the easiest way to find clubs and events is through those websites. But in LA, we couldn't even find them on websites. So after we talked to some people, we heard it was really underground.
Yeah.
So I don't even know how to get into the community there.
That is so crazy. I would not have assumed that in LA.
Yeah, why would it be so underground? Is it the stigma? Like, is it not really safe for people?
Well, I think part of it is you can't even technically have a strip club in like Los Angeles County, from my understanding.
Oh.
And so I think sex clubs have difficulty like being open. And so I think that's why maybe it is more underground, because these companies that run it can't have their businesses shut down. Because like Texas, like we have like fully, nude strip clubs.
Oh,
so
that's right. Okay.
you can have a sex club and it's no big deal here. Same with like Florida. That's why it's huge in Florida. And I think that's why. So I think in those situations, as you get involved more in the community, you can go to more stuff. But I think the best way is to look for websites, and if not, then try to make friends through things online, have dinner with people and ask them like, have you guys found groups or found meetups or whatever it is, and then you'll kind of get connected to person by person and get more invested.
Okay. Build your own sex club.
Yeah.
Collect enough couples.
Do you guys try to find couples to swing with like whenever you go out of town and whatever like vacations you go on?
It depends. Sometimes, usually not. I mean, sometimes it depends. Like we're going on a swingers cruise in November. I mean, hopefully it goes, but
right. Yeah.
But that's all.
Yeah,
swinging.
like we went to LA. Like we were looking to try to meet up with somebody. So I just think it depends.
We've been on. This is kind of a funny story, but we've been on vanilla cruises where the whole pineapple upside down thing is. It is a thing, but it's almost ironic. Like swingers only do it because they think it's like the other people think it's a thing. You don't go to the grocery store and put your pineapple upside down like in your cart.
Yeah. Unless you just like want to fuck with people and like, this is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like we have hats and like I'll wear it around just to see if people look at me different. But
so swingers do really love like pineapples and putting them upside down. But anyway, so on our vanilla cruise, we will put that on our door and just to like see. So we're not always looking, but sometimes
I feel like if stuff falls in our lap, we're most of the time, I mean, we're like, I'm just not into the mood to do that right now. But most of the time, like if something falls in our lap and we're all into it, then why not? Like it's like a round of golf. Like, why not do it? So.
Do you have anything that you do, like if you have a swinging experience and then you come back home and it's just you two, do you have anything that you do to kind of like come down from that? Like all I can think of is like ritual. That's the only word that's in my head.
Aftercare type of a thing.
Yeah.
There's not anything that we make sure that we do. I think because we've been in it for so long that it's so normalized for us now. But at the very beginning, it would be the couple would leave or we would leave and we would talk about it right away. And we would do like a play-by-play and be like, oh my gosh, do you remember when we did this? Or did you see when this happened? Like that was so sexy. And so us talking about it kind of like revved up our sex drive even more. And then usually the next day we would, because usually swinging stuff happens like really late at night. And so then we'll sleep and everything. And then the next day we'll like be really charged and we'll have really good sex and just like feel so close to each other that day. A day after an experience, I feel like is the most like clingy we are to each other.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's so sweet.
So how often are you doing that? Like a week or a month? Is it weekly thing? Is it a monthly thing?
Oh no, not weekly.
No.
For us, not weekly.
No. I mean, it really just depends on how things fall. Because we do love going to like lifestyle clubs. And I mean, we've had times where we've had, 2 or 3 experiences in a month. And there's been times when it's been like a year and a half between anything. Okay. So it's not like there's some sort of, we're trying to do it X amount of times or anything like that. We just do kind of whenever it falls in our lap and we find the right people and it all works out, then it does. And I would want to say one more. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, please go.
I was going to say one more thing about the ritual. Is I do feel like now we still talk, but the biggest thing is right afterwards, we do always make sure each other is okay and like nothing somehow went wrong that one of us didn't notice. Like, hey, everything was comfortable. You had fun, right? And then we have a podcast. So we talk about it. Like we usually film an experience the next day. So now we don't talk about it until the podcast. So that way, whenever we're speaking, we can kind of hear it for the first time and then ask each other questions and kind of, I don't know, like stimulate the conversation.
I love that. We do that a little different, but for when we try out stuff, it's hard not to talk to your person. Emma's my person in a different way.
But
it's like when you have this thing that you really want to say or like, I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to keep it together for the podcast.
We try to save it so it's the most authentic and like we get the most organic questions for each other out of it. But how you were describing earlier, I feel like that's so evident of how strong your relationship is, you know, and how like you know that this lifestyle was meant for you guys. If you're not doing it, like you have to have a swinging experience weekly or monthly to like keep your relationship alive. It's like the fact that it can kind of come and go, that just so evident that you guys were meant for it. The poster children for swinging.
Yeah. Whenever we go out to a lifestyle club, or even if we're going to an event or whatever it is, it's never the goal to find someone to have sex with. The number one goal is always to have fun together, no matter what we're doing. And so I think that's what helps a lot, where there's no expectations. You can't go into with expectations. Because
that was one thing that I'll say when we first got into it is we had this experience so quickly, and then we went to our first sex club and we ended up having sex with like a couple and a single girl that night. And so really quickly we kind of like got into this, and then we would start going, because we live in Oklahoma, we would drive to Dallas to go to this club like once every 2 months or something. And we're like, well, since we're paying to go in here and this is what it's about, right? And we got into this bad place where we started to look for like, this is supposed to be about sex. Like we're trying to find somebody. And I think that was one of our biggest pitfalls towards the beginning of this, was that expecting something to happen. And now it's more like she said, if it happens, it happens. We'll talk about it and say, oh, I would love if something happened tonight, and like make sure that we're both down if something were to happen that night. But it's never an end goal. It's just that would be a cherry on top of the experience we're having as us going out, just having fun together.
And prior to going out the night that we're planning on going to a club or anything, well, usually it's me usually I'm like, oh, I'm not feeling like, I don't want to have an experience tonight. And so we'll go into it knowing that like, we just want to go and talk to people and have fun.
Yeah. And we still, like, I'm kind of over the like downtown club type scene. So even if we don't want to play or do anything, most of the time I would rather go to a lifestyle club just so I can be around people that have the right, or not the right, but the same mindset as me. I like to be able to be open, and all of our friends pretty much know that we do this, because I just don't like to be surrounded by people I can be myself around, or that judge me for being myself. And so I feel like we're just huge into going to swingers clubs, even if we don't want to play.
Yeah. And for people who aren't familiar, who don't know anything about swingers clubs, it sounds daunting to go in. It's like, is everyone just going to touch me? And like, is it just people naked everywhere? So it's really not like that. It's like very, I compare it to the EDM scene, because it's so similar, and where there's so much respect and there's so much communication that, I mean, there's always asking. It's like, is it okay if I do this? And it's so easy to talk to people in a swingers club. Like if you're going out downtown, and it's hard to feel like you're infiltrating like a friend group, you know, but at a swingers club, everyone wants to meet everyone. So it's a lot easier that way. Yeah. And there's not naked people everywhere.
Yeah. And I would say that I truthfully feel like, at least for like women going out, you are more likely to get kind of sexually harassed at a normal bar or something than you would at a lifestyle club. If everyone is so respectful, and how we kind of said almost a spectrum earlier of some people are full stop or some people just like to watch. 99.9% of people that are there are respectful of whatever your rule is. And if you say, hey, we don't do that, then they're like, oh, awesome. And it's just, that's the end of the conversation. So no one, at least, I mean, there's always, that one bad apple in a bunch, but pretty much everyone is always just so respectful of however you do your lifestyle relationship.
Yeah. It's a very safe space with that. It sounds like it wouldn't be, but it is.
It's like the safest.
Yeah. That's so cool.
The more sexually like aware you are, I feel like the safer it can be.
The safer you become to
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah. It sounds like a really great community.
So to finish this off, we would love
To finish you off.
We would love just your favorite or a fun or a wild swinging story that you have.
I have a favorite, I think. So I'll give you like brief details and then say like why it was my favorite, I guess.
Okay.
So we had an experience, I don't remember when it was, but it was me and Bella, another couple, and a single girl. And that is my personal favorite setup of amount of people. I think that 3 girls and 2 guys, just the way that positions work together, there's always like almost a threesome going on, or you're all together or 4 people or 3 people. Yeah. Said that horribly. Basically, there's just so many positions that you can do. And in that case, all the girls liked girls. So there was just so much going on. And from the beginning of that night, we clicked so smoothly with all of these people. And it was just so comfortable. And we were just all like having wine and talking. And we ended up having sex with, everybody there. And it was just the most easygoing, fun, like one of the most fun experiences we've ever had. And we got to do like positions that we had always talked about that we had never done before, that we were like, how you said earlier about the kinks, it's like, maybe I wanted to try this and we had never done it before. So we got into I guess like, hey, I want to try this. Like, I guess if we're going details, I had always wanted to get like titty fucked by somebody, but have Bella use that girl's boobs on me. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Like, we had never done that before. So that was like something cool that we never done that I had always wanted to do. And with a single girl that was there, we made her come together, and we spent this like 20 minutes just making her come. And that was fun for us to be able to pleasure somebody else. And then the way that it ended was also like, I don't know, really fun.
So you're just saying this is a favorite experience, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You can say it.
So like that was the first time that I had ever come on 3 people together. So it was like all 3 girls like around me, and then I just came on everybody.
Like kneeling, and then like he was standing in front.
Yeah, and like
And then
everyone
it
was
was
like
like-
giving me head together, then I just came on
Like a hose.
I was
everybody.
going to say like a fire hose.
Like, yeah, exactly. And everyone was just like so happy and fun. Like we just like hugged afterwards and stayed there and talked for a while. And like, to me, it was all of those different elements mixing together that made it my favorite experience.
That was my favorite experience too.
Oh,
But I wasn't going to say that one. I was going to say one of like the wildest ones was when we were on a vanilla cruise.
I remember
Right?
this.
That one was kind of crazy.
Settling in.
Just listening, story time.
Active listening.
Yes, active listening. I can say it back if we need to.
So there's not like always a ton of swingers or anything on vanilla cruises. And so, but anyways, it's not like we were trying to find anybody, but if you've never been on a cruise, usually every single night people go to the club and you just hang out at the club and it's like you party, right? And so there was quite a bit of young people on this cruise, and we kind of made friends with people. We were all talking or whatever, we were all dancing together. And then a group of them, like 5 or something, was sitting out of the club. Anyways, we walked past and they were laughing really loud. I was like, hey, what are you guys talking about? And they were like, we're talking about dicks or
Something like that, yeah.
we're talking about fucking or something. I was like, I love that too.
I love fucking.
Those are also my interests.
And so we ended up hanging out with them, talking and everything. And none of them were swingers. None of them were in the lifestyle. They didn't know what it was.
And it was me and you. There was one other couple, 2 single girls, and 1 single guy. That was like the group setting in this situation, to paint a picture.
And so then we were all talking, and somehow one thing led to another. And we were like, oh, are we all gonna fuck? And we were like, okay, yeah, we're down for that. And so there was the single guy and one of the single girls went into one of their friends' rooms because they
that was 2 additional people.
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there were 2 other people, and so then they went to the room first, but they weren't part of, like, I think that they had left. They left before we had even talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so they were already in the room, and then we were like, wait, we don't have a room to do this in. And so then one of the girls there was like, oh, I have a room. And then we were like, no, your friend is in that room, like fucking. And then somebody was like, well, maybe we'll just want to join us. so we all go into their room, and we're like knocking on the door, and they're like either finish fucking or mid fuck. And so then they come to open the door, and they're like naked, and then
someone like, hey, I think we're all gonna fuck in here if you guys want to stay. And then they left to go get pizza or something, because I guess they were not into that.
Yeah.
Stay in your room. We're gonna be fucking in here.
Yeah. So
but it wasn't their room though. So
okay.
They were borrowing it. Yeah. So we weren't kicking them out. Yeah.
The girl who was with us, it was her room. So
Yeah.
it's not like we were like, bye.
Yeah. We invited them.
We invited you.
Not my fault. Like,
So yeah, then that was the story but we actually didn't have sex with anybody. We had an experience. We did stuff with one of the single girls there, but we weren't like interested in
everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone was like
was fun,
fucking
yeah.
all around, and we just kind of had almost like a threesome with this like single girl.
Yeah, so that was the story of the vanilla cruise orgy.
Yeah.
That is so fun. Thank you guys so much for sharing those. We really appreciate. We have nothing to give you in response, like story wise.
We appreciate it and love it so much.
Oh my gosh. We should wrap it up with like the links that we've been talking about, right?
Yes.
So the ones about how to find clubs that you were speaking of. So what's that link?
Oh, so you can go to sdc.com. That's one major one. There's Cassidy.com. Those are, I would say, the 2 most popular ones.
And with both of those, if we can give you guys a promo code to put in the show notes or something, and you can get, it's like 90 days free on one and 30 days free on the other. If you use our codes, people can, I guess, try it out and see what it's like.
Fun.
So,
and both of them, if you like it, it's only $100 for a lifetime membership anyway.
Oh, wow.
So if you do get it, don't do like the monthly. Like you can go ahead and just do the lifetime. But those are the 2 links for to find. And there's also Quiver is a bigger one, and SLS is a big one as well. But we will give you those.
Perfect. And where can listeners continue to connect with you guys after the episode?
So you can find us on our website, foreplay.com, the number 4, OURPLAY.com. We have a podcast that's also under Foreplay Podcast, where we just talk in detail about our lifestyle experience, and we have Q&As where we answer listener questions. We also have clothing, so we make swinging or adult clothing. I'm really big into anime, and so there's a big part of like ecchi anime type style stuff too, and we have clothing of that. We have a game, we have the conversations game, and we also have a variety of other sexual adult party games. It's all played on your phone. Our main one is called Foreplay the Game, and that's like a drinking game that just kind of, there's dares, there's truths, there's story times, and
it's helped to kind of like move things in a sexual situation, because we've realized over time that sometimes it can be awkward if everyone wants to have sex, but it's almost difficult to start that.
Yes.
And so this game is geared to kind of like, maybe like someone's shirt comes off or people kiss. And then there's like an X-rated expansion pack too that really gets like dirty. So it kind of helps if that's what you're wanting to do, move things forward. And that's why we made that. So,
and you can find that on foreplay.com/games. If you just go to foreplay.com, it has all of our links. We're on Instagram and Twitter as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
God.
This was so much fun.
Thank you guys so much.
We had
for
so much fun.
us.
And thank you guys for doing what you do. I mean, I feel like,
so easy to talk to
like,
too.
and like breaking stigmas and opening up about things that people are scared to talk about, because we're all about that. And I love that. So I think that's awesome.
I short-circuited there. I had
It was
something
lovely.
to say, and then I didn't anymore. So fantastic. Thank you so much to Bella and Jace for coming on the podcast and telling all of their stories which we literally freak out about. We love story time.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So thank you to them and thank you to our listeners for sticking around.
Yes. And for the code that Bella and Jace talked about, so that is code DEWME, DEWME, and that gets you 10% off all of their products on their site. So their games, their merch, so much fun stuff. We are loving their games.
Yes.
They're so much fun.
They were really
Highly
fun.
recommend.
We played their charades game.
Yeah, we played
that
charades.
That was so fun.
And it's definitely sexual, so it's definitely right up our alley. And we played that, with our platonic friends, but we're really close with them, so it was really fun. And
so
just
it's fine if I'm trying to
goofy
act out an erection. That's fine with
it was
me.
hilarious.
Yeah, it was so much fun. Their games were fantastic. Please use it. They're amazing. Go support them.
Yes, and that's code DEWME, DEWME. And if you have a couple of minutes, we have a couple of requests.
We just a couple, a handful, if you will.
If you like this episode or if you've liked any of the other episodes, please send it to one friend, one acquaintance, one bully from high school that you didn't like. I don't know, anybody, and share it with them because we want to get these words out there, these important life lessons out there. So if you can help us and do that, that would be amazing. And then if you want to show us your love even more, you can head over to Apple Podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe to Honey Do Me. If you leave a written review, we'll love you forever. What emoji should they leave?
They should leave maybe like those friends, like the friends that hold hands emojis.
Ah, yes.
The ones that are like kind of a group.
Any of like the double ones.
Yeah, any of those.
Any double emojis, like the two buddy people.
Yeah, any two persons emoji. That would show us that you like to swing.
Or you like the
episode.
to swing, or you thought the episode was interesting. So if that's going to be what got you there,
swing on over.
Swing on over. Alrighty.
We'll see you next week.
Yep.
Bye.